Coming up on Need to Know, what was unthinkable a couple decades ago is now possible for individuals with intellectual disabilities. We'll learn what's turning college dreams into reality and the benefits for society just ahead. Also on the show, can something as simple as a paintbrush and watercolors provide healing for those dealing with mental illness? The story behind creative arts therapy for mental health disabilities later on the show. And how the simple touch of a button on a tablet computer can help individuals with disabilities live a life that works for them. Stay with us. A special Dialogue on Disability edition of Need to Know starts right now. The college and career conversation is a big deal for young people leaving high school. For individuals with intellectual disabilities, there was a point in time when such conversations didn't happen. However, gains are being made, in part because of the Higher Education Opportunity Act and because of parents and advocacy groups fighting for better access to post-secondary education. Now, there are more than 200 programs on college campuses around the U.S., including a handful in Rochester, making the transition from high school to college and career possible for this demographic. Joining me from one of those local programs to talk gains and the road ahead is Heidi Schuster, Supervisor of Adult Day Habilitation with CP Rochester. Julianne Warren, a first-year student of the Bridge to Earning, Learning, and Living program, also known as the Bell program, and Austin Rittendale, a graduate of the Bell program. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
So just to start off, Heidi, transition is this word that I've heard a lot doing research and preparing for stories that we've done for Move to Include and the Inclusion Desk and the newsroom at WXXI. But what exactly does that word mean, transition, in particular with the young adults that you're working with at CP Rochester?
Well, it's a great question because transition nowadays means something very different than it has in the past. There are so many more opportunities available to young people coming out of high school, not just opportunities, but expectations. I think that we as a community have finally really undertaken bringing people out, seeing their goals all the way to the very final end, which is earning a living and living a great life. So for transition, our youth need to have the opportunity to go to school. We're discovering that with the proper supports, the individuals that do attend college excel. They succeed. They go on. Some continue on and have worked towards additional degree programs. Others go out and find gainful employment. Oftentimes it's employment that they didn't really expect that they would have. So transition now means get moving, get your life going, own it.
So Austin and Julianne, I'm curious, I want to hear from you. Talk to me about that move, right, from high school to a college campus, because I need to point out this program is a partnership between CP Rochester, Monroe II BOCES, and Roberts Wesleyan College. We got to see you on the college campus on Monday. Talk a little bit about what was it like? What were your hopes, and did you have any fears in being a part of the college lifestyle, Austin?
Well, there were a couple of my hopes were that I would graduate and probably make something of myself. I'm still working towards making something of myself, but I did graduate, so I guess all in all, it wasn't that bad.
So overall, a good experience, you would say?
Yeah, it had a couple ups and downs, but overall, yeah.
Like college life for everybody. We have our ups and downs.
Yep.
And Julianne, how about you? You're a first year with the Bell program.
Yeah.
What has it been like for you?
Actually, when I
I passed on my sore throat to you probably.
when I first started, I was scared.
Yeah.
But now it's well, see, for me, it's like school. You have to learn. You have to do this and that. And well, see, I'm actually in love with the program that I love so much, and I love meeting new friends and my teachers and my coaches, my mentors. Yeah.
Well, a study published in the Journal of Intellectual Disabilities suggests that post-secondary education, as you said, Heidi, can be incredibly effective for this demographic in terms of employment rates, more so than those who do not further their education. So I want to know, you talked about the supports that need to be in place. What are some of those supports that are available?
Well, there's a variety. They're all individualized. There's through the Bell program, for example, the program itself provides mentorship, both in the form of other Roberts Wesleyan students who are peer mentors and assist our new students coming in with negotiating the campus, building new friendships and relationships, which are so key, especially for down the road when they're employed, learning how to build natural supports for themselves in the workplace. So it's tied in. Academic coaches are some of the supports. We're all good students in our own ways. Some of us need assistance with note-taking. Some of us may need just somebody to help us get through the homework. No one does homework for any of our students. However, it's a support that coaches and guides. Some of the other supports that are available depend on the way that you're accessing, for instance, the Bell program. There are some individuals who have come through with day habilitation supports. There are other individuals like Julianne who come through with community habilitation supports. There's different time frames and staffing involved there. And I think that most of the individuals that have come through our program do really all the work. It's support in the form of guidance.
I know goals and setting goals, it's a big deal. It's a focus for this program. I want to know from you, Austin and Julianne, what are some of the goals that you have set for yourself, the goals that you are working to achieve right now?
Wait, are you asking me, like,
Yeah.
me first? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the goals I've kind of set are, first off, losing some weight and hitting, if it came a lot more, then moving into a apartment of my own, and maybe starting my own business. I don't know.
And with your own business, what are you interested in? What would you like to do?
Oh, like building computers for people, custom computers, like in-home IT and stuff like that. Like, it's stuff I'm good at, so why not make a little bit of money off it?
Exactly. And what about you, Julianne? What are some of your goals?
Yes, actually, I want to be a office worker because I love to type and organize and stuff. And then probably I have my own paid job. It's actually in Spansport, and yeah.
I'm surprised as we wrap, I have to say. So I did see you on the computer because you were in the computer lab when we visited on Monday, and I saw you type up some questions faster than I can type up my own questions for this show. So I thought you would say a goal might be to pursue journalism, which I think you would be phenomenal at doing. But I want to thank all of you for joining me. A special thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're very
and
welcome.
to learn more about CP Rochester's Bell program at Roberts Wesleyan and other similar programs in the Rochester area, go to thinkcollege.net for a full listing of programs at college campuses in our region. It was Pablo Picasso who said, "Art washes from the soul the dust of everyday life." So to what degree can art heal, bring peace, and lead to recovery, in particular for those battling mental health disabilities? WXXI's Arts in Focus program recently visited Ventures Pros, a program out of Rochester Rehabilitation designed to help individuals with mental health challenges. Among the services offered is an art course where adults are taught to share their voice through painting when words fail. Take a look.
My name's Maureen Service. I'm a licensed creative arts therapist here at Rochester Rehab's Ventures Pros program. The people who come here are struggling with mental illness. They are adults who maybe have lived most of their lives struggling with symptoms, struggling to be vibrant or active members of the community. Through the PROS program, they come to us with a dream to kind of get back into the community. Art is a big component to our particular PROS program. The art not only serves as a way for people to experience mindfulness amid all the heavy learning that they're doing, but it also gives them an opportunity to deepen some of the concepts that they're learning.
Before I came here, I would suppress my stress and eventually it would cause me to be physically sick. Between here and basically doing a lot of art, I learned skills to let the stress out, not to hold it in, and I got a lot better.
The art has given them a voice that they didn't know they had. They're able to express themselves in ways many times they never thought possible because words sometimes fail us.
I'm a big promoter of art. I think it's very beneficial for people's mental health overall, whether you have mental health illness that you're battling with or not.
You don't have to be an artist to take these workshops. Many people come in and their first comment is, "I can't draw a stick figure." That's not what it's about. It's more about the process. It's more about trusting yourself enough to let go and be free with the materials. And more often than not, people are just shocked at what it does for them. They lose the sense of time. They become very mindful. Once you're able to kind of get outside of all the things that bring you down, you're able to really find a new life and a new sort of passion and new energy to kind of keep moving forward.
Joining me now to talk about the impact of creative arts and other forms of therapy and treatment for mental health disabilities is Pauline Stahlbrot, clinic manager at the Evelyn Brandon Health Center out of the Rochester Regional Health System. Kevin Coffey, assistant clinical professor of psychiatry at the University of Rochester Medical Center, and Patricia Sine, executive director of the National Alliance of Mental Health Rochester chapter. Welcome to all of you. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
In preparing for this conversation today, I read about the types of negative stereotypes that people can have on individuals with mental health conditions and how they can lead to discrimination in the workplace, discrimination with employment opportunities, educational opportunities, even among social networks. And I want to start by kind of honing in and looking at, based on your perspective, why today in 2017 this stigma is still associated with mental health disabilities in our society. And I'll give that first to you, Patricia.
Thank you. By the way, just to correct, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Rochester. And mental health and mental illness is two different things. We deal with very serious mental illness, And so we call it what it is. And I think a lot of the stigma is, you know, certainly mental health, mental health is what we strive for. But to recognize that these are biologically based illnesses, just like other physical illnesses, cancer, diabetes, heart conditions. So we kind of, and I noticed in the piece too, there's a lot of different variations on the term, mental health illness. So I just thought, you know, that's part of the stigma. Trying not to say, you know, for a long time nobody could talk about cancer. It was the C word. So now people talk about, say it. And I've been associated with NAMI for about 26 years. My daughter is in her 40s and she has schizophrenia. And I have grandchildren now who are in high school. And I do have to say that I believe the stigma is not the way that it was. It still exists, you know, certain places, but people are very open in talking about mental illness. Our programs go out into the community. We have many people that speak in the schools, the colleges, wherever, and we have requests all the time. So people that are living with a mental illness and family members speak from their perspective, and it's so well received, and especially among the younger people. They do not go any place without someone sharing, whether it's, you know, in the group setting or coming up to them after and talking about, gee, my sister or I myself have thought about suicide. So in that perspective, I don't believe the stigma is as prevalent as it used to be.
Well, let's talk about what we just saw in terms of the arts piece with Arts in Focus. And I'm curious to know, how do programs like art therapy, social cues, stress management, among other types of workshops that are offered in facilities here in Rochester, how do they impact individuals that are battling mental illness?
Well, a lot of times those kinds of programs help people to learn skills that will help them to manage symptoms that they experience. I mean, the more stress one's under, the more symptoms someone's going to have. And so if they can learn a way to lower their stress, that'll help them manage their symptoms better. I mean, mindfulness is certainly one of the things that's been very effective at people staying in the moment and realizing, oh, I'm having this experience right now, I need to do something about this. And you know, certainly dialectical behavioral therapy has a lot of skills it teaches people to manage symptoms in a moment. So it's helping them to learn to manage.
Well, I think part of what's interesting, especially about something like expressive arts therapy, is it gives, and you said it very nicely in the introduction, it gives individuals opportunity to express an experience without needing to struggle with language. I think so often we work with individuals who have suffered a lot of trauma as children, and that's a time in our life where we really don't have the language to express our experiences or to reach out or understand even what's happening. So having opportunities to, in any kind of therapy setting where you're encouraged to find your voice, you're encouraged to have an experience to understand yourself better and to have some compassion for yourself, especially through expressive arts where you may not have the language developed to articulate those experiences, to come to it from a different perspective that's maybe a little less threatening even. And I think having multiple avenues to reach someone to help them heal from mental illness, because I think that's absolutely true. It is an illness, and I think often, you know, it's this loss of control that people fear. You know, when we have something wrong with our heart, we're less afraid than when we have something wrong with our mind. Nobody wants to lose their mind. You know, so a lot of people come in and they express, "I'm afraid I'm crazy." But it's just really having multiple avenues to help someone in that healing process.
So we learned about the creative arts impact. I'm curious about the other types of treatment or therapy that have proven to be beneficial, and perhaps some types of therapy or treatment that people are not that familiar with right now.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
I was gonna say, I mean, the psychology itself, since the early 90s, have been working on sort of evidence-based therapies that work with different conditions, or like cognitive behavioral is certainly used a lot with anxiety and depression. I mean, there's interpersonal psychotherapy that...
Yeah, we're doing a large project on interpersonal psychotherapy at Rochester Regional Health and training our clinicians on that. And it combines more of a psychodynamic, psychoanalytic background while also keeping it a brief and very much focused on the here and now, and that the emphasis is really on recovery, learning enough to help you continue on in your life without having to be in therapy forever. And I think that's a big shift in the field of psychology, that it's not like a treatment for the rest of your life, but there's actually an end point and a way where you can learn enough of those skills to be successful.
And manage.
And manage, yeah.
And I think a lot of a lot of trauma stuff goes back to attachment, and I think there is an important part of healing for people where they need really to attach to a therapist and feel some sense of and there's certainly even evidence now that neurologically, children who have bad experiences early on in their life, their brain development is curtailed because of...
And you also mentioned dialectical behavioral therapy. So that's a much longer treatment for somebody who we would say has a personality disorder, where they're really also, there's an organic component where we're basically struggling with handling stressful situations. So really learning skills on how to be less kind of tumultuous in your life.
And actually the dialectical behavioral therapies now, they're using them, aren't they, for not just borderline personal, any mental
anxiety,
illness.
we use it for
Any
depression
life
now.
coping skill, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Actually, I use some of the skills myself. They're pretty helpful.
We have to close for now, unfortunately, because of timing. But Pauline, Kevin, and Pat, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for lending your expertise to this important topic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, creating opportunities for people with disabilities to live independently in the community is the focus of our next story. WXXI's Sasha Ann Simons joins us now with more.
Thanks, Helen. Most Americans take for granted opportunities they have regarding living arrangements, jobs, transportation, social activities, and other aspects of everyday life. For many Americans with disabilities, however, barriers in their communities take away or severely limit their choices. I spent some time with healthcare professionals and one local company to learn more about ways to increase the independence of people with disabilities. Take a look.
Oh, look where you're going. Nice job.
This little guy has come a long way in the last 2 years.
Very good.
The 4-year-old is learning to walk on his own in physical therapy sessions at CP Rochester.
He's very close. He's starting to take some steps. He wears a brace on one of his legs.
Therapist Karen Terp and her student intern Sarah work with the boy on weekdays. To help with his cognitive challenges, the center provides him with special education and
because of the involvement that he has in his hands, an occupational therapist helps him learn how to do things more easily using his hands. You want to jump?
Naturally, instructors use play and lots of toys when training the preschool students. Kids with special needs are integrated with their typically developing peers. Those are children who don't have any identified special education or physical therapy needs.
Walk over to the bridge. We try to make everything fun for the kids because that's how children learn.
The goal at CP Rochester is for the students to eventually be able to attend regular classes and ultimately live independently when they become adults. And so the boy can live more comfortably at all times, Terp has made arrangements with his mother and modified his home. And additions like door alarms and locks, wheelchair ramps, and shower chairs can be all the change a caregiver needs to get a little relief.
If you're a teenage boy, you don't have to have your mom come in and give you a shower.
We have lunch.
We do.
We do a checklist.
Where are we going at 2 o'clock?
Scottsville.
Parents and support staff who care for 36-year-old Adam Jokimiak say the TouchStream Solutions tablet has been a game changer. For 2 years, the monitoring system has helped him organize his daily activities and manage his medications.
It helps me stay on track of where we go. And
just 24 hours after he was born, Jokimiak suffered a massive stroke and lost the functioning of about a third of his brain. At 13, his mother decided he'd need the extra support of a group home. He's lived in homes in Utica and Canandaigua, but as Jokimiak grew older, he got tired of his living arrangement.
So what was it like living with a bunch of other people?
It was crazy.
Yeah, tell me why. Why was it crazy?
We had people going everywhere, and
Now it's been 5 years since Joe Kemiak began living the independent life he's longed for. He's got the keys to his own apartment.
I have a kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, living room.
My vision for him was that he would be a contributing member to his community, to this world. I didn't know what that would look like for him because he gets to call those shots.
The customized TouchStream tablet keeps the family connected in real time. Joe Kemiak and his caregiver Jeff can use a web portal to input important reminders and activities. The simple touch of a button and a text message lets everyone know that Joe Kemiak has completed the task.
Correct medication. Are you taking this medication
The tablet system,
now?
manufactured in Rochester, costs a one-time purchase fee of $250. And the monthly subscription, which includes a data plan, is priced at $60. TouchStream won't be covered by your health insurance, but through the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, there's a program called Self-Direction that can help you pay for it.
Self-direction provides a budget to hire your staff and purchase other goods and services that help your child or whoever do what they need to do to live a life that works for them.
Our roadmap for TouchStream is very much dictated by our customers. They say we want it to do this, they say we want it to do that, and that's truly what our development team works to put on the roadmap and to develop.
Susan, appointment with doctor.
So we have, hey, don't forget, it's Mom's birthday. Don't forget to bring a card to dinner tonight. You know, it's your anniversary of, being 3 years out in the community. Whatever's important to the person.
But systems like TouchStream won't solve everything. For one, Joe Kemiak's family wants to see medication dispensing get better in line with the tablet.
Adam still, even though he's prompted to take his medications, so he still has to go into his case, pour out his medications, and kind of do the weekly setup that you see like in the pill container boxes.
Fast.
Still, these types of modifications can mean a good night's sleep for caregivers who selflessly give their time and effort to ensure a quality life for a person living with a disability.
They have to give up control to this person, but they still want to know that things are being handled in a way that's going to keep this person safe.
Sasha Ann Simons, WXXI News.
We'll be right back out.
You can learn more about the Self-Direction program, empowering people with disabilities and their families to design services based on their individual needs at inthedriverseat.org. The website was made possible with funding by the Golisano Foundation.
Thank you, Sasha. And that's it for this special Dialogue on Disability edition of Need to Know. Dialogue on Disability Week is a partnership between WXXI and Al Siegel Community of Agencies in conjunction with the Herman and Margaret Schwartz Community Series. Dialogue on Disability is supported in part by the Golisano Foundation with additional support from the Fred L. Emerson Foundation. I'm your host, Helene Bianduti Hofer. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I will see you next week.